America, and welcome to the Baseball Talk Radio Show. I'm Gary Mack, and I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, the great, the wonderful Mr. Rich Baxter. Happy holidays, Rich, and happy recap of the winter meetings.
Happy, right back, Mr. Gary Mack, the amazing Gary Mack. Love the background. I hear the jingle bells ringing. I feel the nice, cool coldness of the snow from that background. I smell
It's a little cool, but
the fir trees in the air, the nice Christmas lights on that tree, and man, what a great background. But yes, happy holidays and welcome to the show, everyone. Ton to talk about, even in the off season.
yes, a lot to talk about the winter meetings. I just want to address the background. I had to go with a static one this year because if you remember, whether it was last year's show, 2 years ago, we had the nice video of the fireplace, and all of a sudden, that gentleman walked in and put the piece of wood in, or the log into the
Uh-huh.
fireplace. I could not find that video again, so
All right.
I went with the static this year. But happy holidays to all of our friends out there. It is the season, and Rich, as you said, we just finished the winter meetings, and boy, what a lot of activity went on this year. Some years you see a lot, some years you see nothing. But this year, Rich, it was chock full of activity.
Yeah, chock full of activity, chock full of money being spent. Uh,
Yes.
I didn't really add up all the money, but I came to a $500 million on a few contracts really fast and sort of stopped there. But yeah, um, continuing on your theme of happy holidays, I'll just a couple countdowns, if you will, for the remaining 14 days till Christmas from the time we're doing this show.
Yes.
21 days only, Gary, to 2023 already.
Wow. Wow.
And I did a little research, did some work before the show. 109 days now till opening day of 2023. It's going to be March 30th, 2023,
Okay.
a Thursday, believe it or not. And all 30 teams are scheduled to be in action on that day. So March 30th, circle it on your calendar for 2023. If you have a new calendar, that is. And, that's going to be like a holiday for us baseball fans, I think.
Yeah, and they will be looking forward to with great anticipation, especially uh, you know, you being a Phillies fan and myself being a Mets fan. You got to be happy with what the Phils did in this meeting. Uh, Added Trey Turner for a mere $300 million over 11 years. They signed Taiwan Walker, so they really did a nice job in getting some pieces that they needed.
Uh-huh. Awesome. Yeah, it's really awesome a job that they did. They didn't go cheap, as you said, $300 million, 11 years. That's a commitment to a team, and it's a huge commitment. Trey Turner, I've followed his career a little bit over the years, and I remember when he was with the Nationals, but I never thought he was a $300 million player. And since then, people have told me, "Oh yeah, he's great." Like he was great with the Dodgers. Yeah, he might have been great, and he might have had a great year. But you know what? I'm starting to think that another player, Nick Castellanos, had that great year for the Cincinnati Reds right before he came to the Phillies. He had like 100 RBIs, 23 home runs. And I think that's sort of what Trey Turner had last year with the Dodgers. These players know that they're going to be playing for a contract. So they have a great year. And then the next year, they've signed that big contract. And are they going to deliver? So that's a question mark. I want to see how good is Trey Turner going to be as advertised for the Phillies, because that's a heck of a lot of money.
Well, I think you're going to be shocked. I think you're going to find out that he's a good ball player. He's pretty terrific. What he brings too is speed. He's fast. He's got power. And he wanted to play with the Phillies. He wanted to play with Bryce Harper. So he may not have that one year where he's because he's getting used to how they try harder with
Uh-huh.
the new teams. He may not have that because he's got Harper there to help him. Um, but he should be. Look, I wish the Mets had tried to get him, but they got everybody else. So, uh, you know, but I think you're going to be surprised with Trey Turner. I have to admit myself, I was a little bit disappointed in what the Mets did until that Thursday night when everything broke loose. Yes, they signed Verlander, but that was a replacement for DeGrom. Yes, they signed Quintana. They made a trade for Brooke Raley, but nothing was sexy about that. And then when they signed Nimmo and David Robertson, that brightened my day considerably. And I said this on my show, Mets Musings, that I was a bit disappointed with what the Mets had done. I was glad for what they done, but they didn't do anything sexy. And re-signing Nimmo was key to me because he's the heart and soul of that team. And so glad they did that. Then they signed Robertson, and then the big news came out last night. I don't know if you heard this. The Mets also signed or are in agreement with Kota Senga, who is the Japanese import that everybody was bidding the services for. And the Mets apparently have inked him to a contract. So, or at least have agreed to a contract deal with him. So, Mets continue to roll along, and we'll see what else they have to do. But you know, Phillies did good. Padres did good. They signed Xander Bogarts, which I'm a little confused about because they already have Tatis Jr. out there. So now they get two shortstop. Bogarts might be moving the third. Who knows? But they did pretty good. The Cubbies did okay. They signed some people, Rich, and I think the big losers in this winter meeting really were the probably two of the biggest teams out there. And again, it's things could be going on now. I said before that the winter meetings sometimes nothing
Mm-hmm.
happens, but they're laying the groundwork for other things. Um, but the Yankees and the Dodgers did really nothing in these winter meetings and so far in the off season. And a lot of the big names are off the board now.
Yeah. They used to carry the weight, so to speak, of contracts. Maybe it's a departure for those teams now. Um, and they haven't had much success. If you look back, the Dodgers have been there, the Yankees have been there, but what have they done? They haven't won the World Championship with it.
Right.
Maybe they're realizing that it's more a chemistry thing sometimes with some of these teams. That's what I believe. Getting back to Senga, I did some research this morning. I don't know a thing about him. I wish we could have our contact from Japan join us, and I'll try to arrange that. Maybe we'll do an interview, a taped interview for a future show, because they follow Japanese baseball. It's Japan Baseball Talk Weekly is the show I'm
Mm-hmm.
thinking of, and I scrolled through Senga's years with SoftBank. He's always played for the team, which is probably like the Yankees of Japan, I would imagine. But yeah, he's 30 years old, going to be 30 um, for the uh, playing year of the Mets. And I think your owner went with strong pitching this year. It's obvious. Jose Quintana, Verlander, a 3-time Cy Young winner, complementing that staff, it's going to be a formidable staff. He went all in pitching.
Well, they really had no choice. They lost most of their staff to free agency. Taiwan Walker left as a free agent. Chris Bassett left. Jacob
Uh-huh.
DeGrom, as we all know, left
Uh-huh.
and signed with the Texas Rangers because they have a more of a commitment to winning. I don't know where he got that from. We just won 101 games, and you know, the guy spending had the highest payroll in baseball, but the Mets are not committed to win, I guess, according to
Uh-huh.
Jacob DeGrom. I don't know. These guys, they get traded or they leave as a free agency and they come up with all kinds of stuff to justify their leaving. But anyway, so he needed to fill the Mets needed badly to fill out a pitching staff. And I'm a little surprised that they didn't go more the trade route instead of going a free agency route. But it kind of makes sense. What he's trying to do is here, at least, is to build his farm system and win at the same time, which is difficult to do, but this is what he's trying to do. So what he's doing really is, yes, Verlander is 40 years old, Scherzer's 36, 37, but what he's trying to do with this front office and this team is trying to do is bridge the gap. They have some prospects that they think are going to be ready to be pitching in the majors in 2024, 2025.
Mm-hmm.
So he's trying, what they're doing now is bridging that gap and bridging it with the best pitches available. And if you notice, I mean, Quintana got a 2-year contract. Verlander got a 2-year contract with a vesting option. Scherzer got a 3-year contract last year, but he can opt out next year. So he's overlapping guys and trying to bridge it to 2025. That's the whole purpose now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, some of the other deals, Sanger is a 5-year deal, so he'll be here for a couple of years. I don't know if there's an opt out clause, and they still have some guys that pitched last year and the last couple of years in the majors. Tyler McGill and David Peterson. They'll be fighting it out for the 5th spot, and they could move up in the rotation next year. Carlos Carrasco is back for just this year, so next year they could lose Carrasco and Scherzer, but they'll have Verlander, and they'll be in better shape than they were this year. They have Verlander, um, Quintana, and Senga, so they won't need to fill as many slots next year. So, it's a look at the present to a look to the future. But this is the way teams have to look at things. They want to go into the direction of using the farm system. The Dodgers say they have internal candidates that can replace uh, Trey Turner at shortstop. They can move Gavin Lux over and let Muncy play more at second. And but they lost Cody Bellinger, so now they're looking for an outfielder as well.
Mm-hmm.
So still teams looking for holes. Atlanta looking to fill some slots. Arizona, um, a lot of slots out there yet, and there's still some big names, but the two biggest shortstops signed in Bogarts and Turner. So that means Correa and Swanson is still out there. If Correa signs, um, the market for Swanson's going to really explode because there's no, he's like the last of the top four uh shortstops. Had a little mind freeze there. Uh and there are like 6 teams looking for shortstops. So his market value is going to go way up, as will Correa as well. So But the pitching, the only top pitcher left now is really Rodon. I would
Mhm.
say. I mean, there are some other decent pitchers out there, but other, when we talk about that top tier that were free agents, Rodon is the probably the one left, so his market will go up. Um, Judge and Nimmo off the board, so the next drop in outfield is really quite a large bid. Kiermaier just came off the board. He signed with the Blue Jays, so he's off the board. So, um, I don't know if the offseason is going to be as long as it usually is because there's so many guys that have signed or been traded already. From this winter meeting activity that it could be a slower than normal winter, but we'll see. As I said, there's still some big names out there on the list. Michael Conforto's still out there, an outfielder that played with the Mets, went into free agency, didn't get signed, hurt his shoulder, didn't get signed, and is trying to come back now, and he wants a 1 year deal. There's some other guys out there that are looking to get 1 year deals to reprove themselves. So it it continues to be interesting, Rich.
Yeah, yeah, we have some big name free agents still out there. Wonder if they'll make it through the Christmas holidays unsigned. But uh, a lot of these players have found homes, some for multi years. I'm excited about the New York Mets starting lineup. I mean, not necessarily the lineup, but the pitching rotation. Really, I mean that's a 1, 2, 3, 4 punch there. If you want my opinion, with Quintana and Verlander, and it's going to be a juggernaut of pitching to face for other teams. And I'm not so sure that Steve Cohn didn't follow that Houston Astros sort of style, that pitching wins ball games. Let the offense fall where it may. They still have a formidable offense, but hit them with pitching. I think it's a great idea. Phillies signed Taiwan Walker, and he's pretty hard nosed, but he's not an ace like the Mets have went out and sort of sourced out a couple of aces. So they're going to join that Houston Astros in one of the favorites this year. It's going to be a tough division in the NL East. Every team has improved. All 30 teams are going to play one another at least one time, one series this year in 2023. And that's going to uh, eliminate 6 games against division rivals. So, whereas the Phillies used to play the Mets 19 times, the Marlins used to play the Phillies 19 times, vice versa, it's only going to be 13 times this year that, division rivals will face one another. So, um, it's going to be a different season this year as well.
It certainly is, and I have to tell you, what you're going to get from Walker is, yeah, he's not an ace, but he's a solid third or fourth pitcher. He's going to give you a lot of innings. He's a bulldog out there, and it's a nice fit with Wheeler and Nola, and you put Walker in there, and I think you're going to be surprised again. Um, it's a nice fit for the Phillies, and it'll make things interesting when they play the Mets because now you'll have the possibility of facing Wheeler and Walker from the Mets point of view. But yeah, don't he he's a bulldog, and he's gonna give you some innings, and he'll give you some really well pitched games. So it was a good deal for him. I just don't think the Mets were not looking to pay him the money that he wanted to pay. I think they had a feeling once that the Grom said he was going to opt out. I think they had a feeling they were going to lose him, and they were going to go after a Verlander or Rodan, and it was going to cost them a lot of money, and they didn't want to spend it on him. I mean, look, they offered Bassett the qualifying offer 17.5 million. He turned it down. He's still out there. I mean, they turned their back completely on him and went in a different direction. Um, I don't think they felt he was. They felt he was a 17 million dollar pitcher, but they didn't think he was more than that, and he's looking for more and more time. So they
Yeah.
moved on. They moved in a different direction and did just as well, perhaps. So time will tell, but we shall see. But as you said, the division, Atlanta's still Atlanta. I mean, they have some holes, but they really didn't lose a lot. So that team will be back. Washington, they're rebuilding. So the Washington's Washington. Miami, I don't know what Miami's doing. Miami's either training guys or signing guys, or not sure they know what direction they're in, but they're essentially rebuilding. So this division is really a three-team race. It's really the Phillies, the Mets, and the Braves. And um, just as I say that, the Marlins or somebody will make a big trade and they'll be right in the competition. But who knows? But they're no pushovers either, the National and the Marlins. So let's remember that as we go on. And the Central, look good. The Cardinals got Wilson Contreras for 5 years. They replaced Yadier Molina with another All-Star uh, catcher. So that's an interesting thing there. And uh, uh, who else in that division? The Cubbies, as we said, they added Cody Bellinger, some other players, so they'll be more competitive this year. Pittsburgh standing pat, looks like they're going to lose their center fielder, but they're rebuilding anyway. So, out west again, the Padres signed Xander Bogaerts. They're real happy about that. They think that solidifies their team even more. The Dodgers didn't do anything. I mean, the Dodgers, they lost Turner, they lost Bellinger. Um, Very interesting. I mean, they did sign Kershaw back again, so that's something. But the Giants have been in on everybody and yet haven't landed a single free agent. They were in on Judge. They are in on Rodan. They were in on Lord knows who else. So we'll see who they get. They're trying to get Correa now. So we'll see how that works out as the hot stove continues over the winter. And D-backs, I don't even think we heard their name the whole weekend, the whole week of the winter meeting. So it is
Yeah.
what it is. And the teams are balancing. The Yankees did get Judge back, which is a big move for them. But didn't solidify they lost a pitcher, starting pitcher. They didn't do anything about that. So there's still a lot of teams to be heard from. Baltimore, nobody heard anything from. The White Sox, the Tigers, these are teams that could be involved in trade now for bits and pieces as we go along, but we'll see as the winter goes on.
Yeah. And there's haven't been a time that I remember too much seeing a lot of the $300 million contracts like we did this offseason. Aaron Judge, for example, with north of $300 million. We had Trey Turner with the $300 million. That seems like the benchmark for contracts now. Carlos Correa, close to $300 million he's looking for. And these contracts are amazing. Xander Bogaerts, $200 million. is inflation really that bad? I mean, we're still making X amount of dollars over here as being, regular employees of companies. Is inflation that bad that it's now $300 million contracts? $200 million is just like an afterthought for some of these teams.
Well, it's the market, and I think the other more intriguing argument about this is the length of these contracts. Uh, we have not seen these lengths the last few years as teams were trying to keep it within the 3 to 5 year range. Now we're seeing Trey Turner got 11 years. Bogart's got what, nine, I think, 8 or 9. Nimmo got an 8 year contract. Um, the Judge got a 9. Uh, you know, long contracts we're seeing, except for pitchers. Uh, but we're seeing longer contracts, and I think this was a younger. It just so happened that the class of free agents this year was slightly younger. They're below 30. Turner is what, 28, 29. Same thing, a couple the other Judges, 29, 30. And I think that, these guys are taking better care of themselves, so they think they can reach 38, or that they were so important. Like I said before, Nimmo, the Mets had to sign Nimmo. Not only was it a big hole in center field if he left, he's made himself into one of the game's best center fielders. He's made himself into one of the best leadoff hitters. Um, they need that was and he's such a spark plug and an influence and an inspiration on this team. They needed to sign him. So you have to take the loss at the end of the contract if you think there's going to be one. But what he can offer you now and what he's given you so far. Same thing with Judge. The Yankees had to sign Judge. They would have had to, even if they had have gone to $400 million, I think they might have, because they had to have him back. He is their cover boy. He just, AL MVP, home run champ. They had to bring him back. It just been too big of a gap to try to fill in with the current crop of players out there. And he's probably the best player in the game right now. Uh, you know, so they had to bring him back. So again, you figure on taking the loss at the end of the contract simply because of what he can deliver you now, and
Yeah.
you worry about the future in the future. And I think that's what the philosophy of a lot of teams are now, because they all want to win now. And no, naturally the smaller market teams don't think that way, but um the larger market teams, and we're talking about New York and Philadelphia here. um the Phillies were so close.
Yeah. And
um
it's interesting you should say that real quick. I'm the kind of guy where, do I want to trade Turner for 11 years for $300 million, or would I would have went after Judge for $300 million for 8 years or whatever the contract was, 10 years? I'm not so sure I wouldn't have wanted Judge. He's a masher. Turner's good, don't get me wrong, but he's a shortstop. The Phillies could have made do with what they had, I thought. They didn't really need to add a $300 million shortstop, in my opinion. And it might come back to haunt me, that comment. And I hadn't said it on my last Phillies talk show, but he's a shortstop. He's not a masher. He's not a Bryce Harper. He's not, you know, um, an Aaron Judge, a game changer, so to speak. I think I would have rather had an Aaron Judge and put, Bryson Stott at short, the young guy, let him stay there, have a masher, have a team full of mashers. And, you know, that's just me.
But you have to remember this: they have a right fielder. They don't have a shortstop or a second baseman right now. You know, Segura was a free agent. I don't know if he's coming back.
No,
Uh,
he will not be back with the Phils, but um, it's just something that I think that the Phillies could have rethought. I know was a push for a shortstop, but I don't know. I'd rather have a game changer, like you just called Judge. He's a game changer. He's a uh, and at $300 million, I would want a game changer. I want somebody like that's going to make a huge difference to a ball club, and maybe Trey Turner will. But um, I don't know. For that money, I would have went with the game changer. That's a heck of a lot of money, and it's a long time. It's a long contract.
well, I think you're going to find that you did get a game changer. I think the Phillies realized too that they weren't going to get Judge. I think there was a lot of teams that realized that. That's why it came down to where you heard these teams were interested and they called in, but it seemed to be the Giants and the Yankees the whole time, and most people felt that he was going to go back to the Yankees anyway. So I don't think the Phillies thought that they were in. They had a more immediate need in the middle of the uh, infield, losing Segura and having a rookie there who did a nice job, but what you've done now is you've solidified that up the middle. Now you've got Riamuto, and you've got a shortstop, an all-star shortstop playing shortstop, and he's a good shortstop, and he brings speed into the lineup with some pop. So I think you're going to be very surprised. And again, he wanted to play here with Harper, his buddy. I know Harper's not going to be back till what, June or something. He
July.
had Tommy John surgery, but he'll
Yeah.
be around the team.
He's not
And
he's not due till July 11th, the All-Star break, believe it or not, which this year is in Seattle, by the way.
well, the beauty about Harper having Tommy John surgery is that uh, there's less of a recovery time for a non-pitcher, and he can hit. He can be a designated hitter when he does come back. So you don't have to worry too much about the outfield. But don't give up on Turner. I mean, Turner's a really good ball player, and it's what the market dictates now. Um, I think you're going to be very surprised. I think they got an impact player. He's going to make an immediate impact. Their defense was terrible last year. Now, I don't know if Stott can play second base or not, but that may be the plan to move him to second. He was a good defensive player. So, what you've done now is you've really made your middle much better defensively because you've got Turner at short. If you put Stott at second with Rio Muto, and you got Marsh out in center field, who really made that a better defensive spot for the Phillies. So now the infield's starting to take place. Now Bohm got better at third as the season went along. He's still no Greg Nettles, but he's better. Hoskins, who knows if he's going to even be there? Maybe the Phillies should take a flyer on another X-Men, Dominic Smith, and terrific first baseman. He hit a little bit, and kind of his offense kind of went south. But he
Yep.
did have an injury, so who knows what that played into it. I think he was a little disappointed at what happened with the Mets, but
Yeah.
Alonso came and took the job away from him.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And yeah, Dominic Smith. still a great player. Reese Hoskins, still a great player. He had a little off year, but he could bounce back this year. A lot of Phillies fans are ready to see him leave after a few errors that he made here and there. And it was, it's tough. It's nobody's perfect. I thought Reese Hoskins during the season put in a great season for the Phillies. He's one of the reasons why they made it to the World Series. But you know, fans can be finicky. They just see what they see at the time, and they're ready to tell them to have a nice day sometimes when they make an error, especially during the World Series. But um, hey, we talked about last time the Hall of Fame election committee there
Yes.
elected Fred McGriff, and that was your pick for election into the Hall of Fame. So the crime dog makes it in.
Yeah, I thought that I thought Dale Murphy might get in as well, if you recall. Uh, but hey, 1 out of 2 is bad.
It's not bad.
I just felt that people have been talking about the crime dog for the last couple of years, and if you look at his numbers, they're very good. I think he's 7 home runs short of 500, and usually 500 is like an automatic entry into the Hall of Fame. So he was so close, and really, what hurt him, I think it was, I don't know if it was last year or uh, one of the later years of his career was a short season because of a strike or work stoppage, and that really hurt a guy like him because he could have put up 7 home runs probably in a half a season, and would have had that magical 500. So, uh, he could do it all. Fred McGriff, quiet guy, but somebody you never wanted to face because he was just so terrific, terrific hitter, terrific power, drove in runs. So glad to see that he finally is getting his dues. Would have liked to seen Dale Murphy. I think he's such a gentleman and such a wonderful ball player and an outfielder. Would have liked to seen that as well. I'd like to see the Mets Keith Hernandez get in the Hall of Fame. I mean, he won the most Gold Gloves in history. Uh, he- he's a 299 hitter, lifetime MVP. But he's not even on any of these committees. I guess eventually he'll get on that the old timers committee or whatever the heck it is. They have so many different committees that rotate now, um, and hopefully he'll get in then. But congratulations to Fred McGriff, the only one that got in. And we thought that Bonds and Clemens might be a little bit higher. They were quite low on that list.
Yeah, yeah, they were quite low. I was quite happy to see that. And taking a look on the video screen here, um, January 24th, 2023, the Baseball Writers of America will announce the results of its 2023 Hall of Fame vote live from Cooperstown, New York on MLB Network. Hall of Fame induction day this coming year actually, will be Sunday, July 23rd at 1:30 p.m. on the grounds of the Hall of Fame there in Cooperstown, New York. So on the screen here, we have some of the players that received some at least 5% of the overall votes in the previous year's voting. Scott Rowland there, who my co-host on Phillies Talk, Matt Veazey, is a big fan of. I'm not a fan of his. I was one of those Phillies fans that didn't care for Scott Rowland too much, but he had 63% last year. Andrew Jones, ex Braves player, 41%. I remember him. I don't think he was a Hall of Famer. I just from memory. Jeff Kent, 32.7. Annie Pettit, 10.7. And then Todd Helton, as you said, 52%. So him, Gary Sheffield, Manny Ramirez, again, possible steroid candidate there. Billy Wagner, 51%. But
That's the one I question.
yeah.
I
Um,
don't. I think we've been over this before, but I cannot understand how can you put Billy Wagner in ahead of John Franco? John Franco, yeah, it's only one or two more, but has more saves if you're putting him in as a relief pitcher, as a closer. John Franco is the most has the most saves by a left-hander. Billy Wagner is second. I believe their ERA. I'd have to look at the stats, but I believe that their numbers are very similar. So how come Billy Wagner got 51% of this vote and John Franco never even got a consideration? I don't know how you justify that if he should get in. I mean, and they're both former Mets, so it's not an ex Met versus a non Met in my book. I don't see it. He played, uh I don't know. I maybe you've got different feelings on it because Wagner played for the Phillies as well, didn't he? I believe at one
yeah,
point.
yeah, yeah. He was,
But I just don't get it. I don't get it how you can take a guy that's not the leader in their category and say he's a Hall of Fame relief pitcher, and the other guy gets no consideration at all.
well, I think probably a few years ago there was higher candidates to be considered. Um, and for one reason or another, it takes 75% to elect to the Hall of Fame. They have to be sort of unanimously voted in by three-quarters of all the writers, and the people that are voting for the Baseball Writers of America. But that's a hard thing to do. That's pretty hard to get into the Hall of Fame, and I'm glad it is, because it shouldn't be that, oh, Scott Rowland had a great career, or Jimmy Rollins had a great career, or certain other players, Omar Vizquel had a great career, but he's not a Hall of Famer, unfortunately. You can't open the Hall of Fame to just everybody. It's there for a reason. It's there, and it's not perfect. We've had our discussions on this,
Yeah.
about elections and politics and certain things that happen to get into the Hall of Fame, but it's still the Hall of Fame. You have to be at that level. And um, I don't think Wagner's a Hall of Famer. He was a great reliever. Just unfortunately, but we'll see what happens with the vote.
That we shall. And that'll be coming up in January, and we will be back long before that, hopefully.
Yeah,
But
yeah. We'll try to get another holiday edition show in for you. 14 days to Christmas, 15 to Kwanzaa if you celebrate that. You know, some other holidays not too long to go. I think Hanukkah's the 19th. So a lot of holidays to go around. So make it a festive time. Remember your baseball fan in your life. I like to say that. Um, get them a gift, brighten their day up. If they like baseball, it's always going to be a great gift. You can never go wrong with that. If you want to
'tis
check
the
our
season.
Absolutely. That's the season. If you want to check our show out, our show page here is anchor.fm/baseball talk radio show. It's all one word. That'll get you to this website that you're seeing if you're watching the video screen. Right here, you can support the show. And then you just click on it, takes you to a page that you can sponsor the show for as little as $1 a month. So 99 cents a month, less than a cup of coffee these days, Gary. Unless you go to Starbucks, you want to go for $4.99 a month. We'll take that. Or of course, $9.99 a month. Just a one-touch button. We have 20 or 30 people out there that want to sponsor us. You can pay with your credit card. Uh, fully safe. But think about sponsoring the show. Listen to us wherever you listen to great podcasts from. Hit the subscribe button. Share us with your friends. If you watch this on Facebook, hit that share button. Get us out there. Spread us around a little bit. That's what we're doing the show for. And Gary, you have a very great holiday shopping season. Just in case we don't do another show, which I don't anticipate, but make it a good one. And I'm sure we're going to have a lot more news for the folks coming up.
I'm sure we will, Rich, and you do the same. Have a good shopping season and a happy holiday and all of that. And everybody out there, if we don't see you, which I doubt, but if we don't, have a happy holiday. And if you've got a holiday starting this week, maybe it's Festivus. I don't know, when does that
For the
start?
rest of us,
For the rest of this, happy Festivus and enjoy. And we'll see you soon on another edition of the Baseball Talk Radio Show.